Hello and welcome to The Voice. My name is Joseph Salama. I'm an editor here, and I'm sitting with William Dow, who is going for the Director of Policy and Procedures with Huskies United. Thank you for taking a few moments to come
Thanks
out with
for
us.
having me here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just launching right into it.
Let's do it.
How does your journalism experience prepared you to serve as the chief interpreter of ACW's policies?
Yeah, so I mean, I have, not in my experience with the Daily, I have had some considerable work with the Judicial Committee. I was there almost every meeting last quarter. Ever since, I knew I was running, I've been doing my work, looking at the bylaws and looking at judicial and going to these meetings and seeing what's up. As far as the Daily goes, I think that's really where my strength and my background lies. Haven't had a tremendous amount of opportunity to work with the bylaws themselves, but I have had a lot of opportunity to work with other bylaws, other governing documents, and other just laws in general at my time at the Daily. And I'll give you an example. Last quarter, when I was news editor, we had an issue. It was the Vinoy-Overton sexual assault situation. And we didn't know what to brand it as. Because, you can call it sexual assault, you can call it rape, which some people were doing, you can call it indecent liberties. There's a whole wide variety of different definitions of what he was accused of doing. Ultimately, I spent about a half hour, 45 minutes looking at the bylaws, comparing it to what the police report said, bringing what I had found to the newsroom where we had a discussion almost similar to what Judicial would do with the Board of Directors, because obviously Judicial does give recommendations, but it doesn't give the final say. We ended up branding it completely differently than what the other news outlets, not all of them, I believe we sided with Seattle Times, but we made that conscientious decision. I was basically behind that whole cause because it was my story. And we were able to, and it took sifting through the RCW and the police report, but really come up with a very responsible decision, which was ultimately the job there. So I have that. I also referenced in a previous forum when I covered the adjudication debate in the faculty senate. A lot of faculty were upset that the process by which they were being disciplined for academic reasons, for whatever other types of reasons they would get disciplined for, had been kind of commandeered by the administration and hadn't been going through these faculty guidelines from the faculty code. And really, I spent not only with the litigation that a lawyer sent us and sent everybody, spending hours with that and speaking with him, but also speaking or looking at the faculty code in depth, looking at and I forget what section it was, I'd love to reference it, but looking at that portion and saying, this is what he is saying and what happened in the Prekin case, which was the one that was in jeopardy, whether it was right or wrong. And these experiences not only show that I love doing this, because I really do, but show that, I have the ability to interpret, and I've utilized that in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the second question is, how can ACW increase the strength of its lobbying efforts in Olympia?
Yeah, so, I mean, the biggest thing, and whenever Quinn Majeski goes down, or whenever there's something we need to testify on, he always sends out a mass text, and he says, everybody, get down here. We need to get as many people. And I think that's a great philosophy to have. So, whether we're testifying on a bill or going on lobby day, we need to have as many students down there expressing their voice, because ultimately, numbers mean a lot more than words oftentimes. So that's something I want to build on. Really, the ACW lobbying efforts are very internal. They're very, I don't want to say private, but they're very exclusive in terms of you have the same group of people going down time after time after time after time. And you get these ridiculous numbers. I know I've been quite a few times. I think I've been 4 or 5 times this session testifying on a couple bills. But you have people like Evan Smith, who I have the pleasure of running with, who's been down there like 10 or 11 times. And it's great that you have this experience of these people going down consistently, and they've really owned their skills, but you don't allow for those other voices. Yeah. So that's what I really feel passionate about, is bringing in these other communities, whether it's RSOs, whether it's commissions, whether it's people from the ECC community, people from the Greek community. we need to have as loud of a voice as possible when combating these budget cuts, which are hurting not only the quality of our instruction, but the accessibility of getting this instruction. We need to get as many people out there as possible to say that. So that's something I feel really passionately about, and that's something that I really want to focus on, because we do have these great students who will testify, but we need to have more. And right now, it's frankly unacceptable how small of a group it is.
Yeah, very well said.
Thank you.
So, this one kind of speaks to your experiences with the Daily and outside of the Daily. Specifically, can you speak to your experiences in other organizations besides the Daily and how they relate to succeeding at this position?
Yeah, so I think, and I'll give an example, kind of piggybacking off what I just answered. Yeah. Being at the Daily kind of restricts what you can do, especially as a reporter and a news editor. So that was the bulk of my work, and you got to be unbiased. That's the Daily's thing, and that should be every news organization's thing. But one of the pleasures that I had when I first got here, I ended up joining SLAP, the Student Labor Action Project, and really getting a part of the whole Nike conversation, both with Phyllis Wise and her appointment to the board of director, but even more importantly, actually way more importantly, the situation that they had with their sweatshops down in Honduras. And there's so much passion in that group. You'd walk into their meetings, you get 10 or 15 people who, at each and every one of these meetings, who care so much, not only about sweat-free labor, but about issues on campus, whether it's budget cuts and whether it's these sort of situations that are hurting our quality and our accessibility. But there isn't nearly enough overlap with a group like the Student Labor Action Project, now UW-SAS, in our conversations and in what we're doing. So that's something that I feel really passionate about, as I said in the last question, is bringing in these communities. We have the passion out there. We have the people who want to do things and who are going into Gerberding week after week, given interim President Wise hell. But we need to harness this passion and this voice. So that's something that really excites me. But it's also something that we need to work on and we need to bridge. So that's reaching out to groups like that is definitely among them. At the same time, I've also been involved with the ASUW, essentially ever since I heard I was running, but even before that a little bit. I currently am sitting on, and I had a meeting last Wednesday, the Advisory Committee of Intercollegiate Athletics, which the board appointed me to. I've been heavily involved with Bark Against Budget Cuts this year, as well as OGR's efforts in general, which got me Quinn Majeski's endorsement, so that's kind of nice. And I really, and I've also been a senator for a couple months now. So I have a lot of institutional knowledge regarding the ASUW, regarding lobbying efforts. And I have the knowledge outside of the ASUW that really wants me to get involved and get these communities represented.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we may have time for
I think
one
I'm
more
killing the
question.
time here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Let's see. So, what experiences do you have with the bylaws, the Constitution, or the rules of order, and how will you apply that to the multiple governing documents of ASUW?
Yeah, so another anecdote, believe it or not. When I first was told that I was being considered for this position, the very first thing that I did, met with Evan at Cafe Allegro, but ran home almost. And got online. And the first thing I did was I went to Amazon.com and ordered Sturgis Parliamentary Code, the 6th edition, which currently sits by my bedside. I can't say I read it every night, but if I need to go to bed, it's not bad to open up. There's that. At the same time, I looked at these bylaws. I printed out the bylaws, double-sided, good for the environment, and really got into this. I did my research behind this in terms of really preparing myself for this position. I come from the journalist background. I'm not going to jump into anything that I don't feel I adequately can. And this is something that I feel passionate about. It's something I know I can do. as I previously said, I was at almost every, I should say, judicial meeting last quarter, and I've been really active about staying involved as much as I could in those discussions. So in terms of that, I feel really, really confident in not only my passion to learn and my passion to keep going in understanding and interpreting these bylaws, but in terms of what I already do know. At the same time, as I already mentioned, my involvement with the ASUW, whether it's on committees, whether it's with Bark Against Budget Cuts, which is now, I guess, its own RSO, but really have given me these kinds of experiences with the bylaws. And that's with the bylaws, with what they're doing. So that's what I feel passionate about. At these judicial meetings, and I don't want to undermine what the parliamentarian does, but I think there's a lot more important parts of the job. Parliamentary procedure is what we abide by, and it's something that I will obviously make sure we do, but it's not necessarily a selling point of a candidate, especially not in small groups. In Senate, maybe. But when you're meeting with 4 or 5 other people in the judicial committee, when you follow those basic things, you don't have to necessarily worry about the order of precedence in a lot of different situations. But I do have that knowledge, and I'm continuing on getting that knowledge. And if I bring half the research that I've done so far, and half the research that I've done at the Daily and other things for certain issues, I feel more than confident that I can and that I will really effectively use and interpret the bylaws and all those other governing documents.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all we have time for.
I'm sorry, killed it.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for coming out on behalf of the writers and the editors. Just taking some time on a beautiful sunny day to sit in Condon. It's good to see you come out.